Good morning and welcome back to Weekly News. This Sunday, the 31st of March 2008. We'll try and keep you up to date on all health issues in the globe because many of them will not be picked up by the Thai international news, especially for our Farang viewers. European news and some odd quirky stuff that goes on around the world.
That's right, Paul. And also we're bringing you udonthani news is obtained from law enforcement agency and government information sites. And we hope this will keep you informed and in the loop, so to speak.
Yeah, just to make sure that you're aware of what's going on in udonthani. I feel that's important.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on everything.
Yeah. And my name is Paul.
And my name is Max.
Okay, now the first wonderful item, especially for us gentlemen. Middle-aged spread or drinker's tum. There's a wonderful picture there of Jeremy Clarkson sporting what appears to be either a 7-month pregnancy or a very fat middle-aged spread or drinker's tum. As it's now been officially stated in medical magazines that if you have a pot belly between 40 and 45 years old, you obviously stand a greater chance of getting Alzheimer's.
Oh.
Doctors have discovered that developing pot belly in middle age dramatically raises this risk. Men and women with large stomachs in their 40s are 3 times more likely to suffer serious mental decline when they reach their 70s. Specialists are not sure why expanding waistlines affect the brain, although fat packed around the abdomen is metabolically active, unlike fat on the hips.
That's right. And also it releases more of the acids that raise heart disease risks, along with factors that increase blood pressures and blood sugar. Other research has already linked obesity to vascular disease, which play a role in dementia, partly through hardening of the arteries. In the latest study, U.S. scientists measured level of abdominal fat in 6,583 people aged 40 to 45 in California in the 1960s and 1970s. But after 36 years, 16% of the volunteers has been diagnosed with dementia.
Well, it seems those with the highest amount of waistline fat in their 40s were almost 3 times more likely to develop dementia than those with the lowest amount of fat. The study published today in the medical journal Neurology does not detail the healthiest level of waist circumference. But doctors recommend that men have a girth no bigger than 40 inches and women should be no more than 35 inches. That's me out. I'm 44 inches already.
So is that an average?
Well, I don't know. Average for me.
All right. Move on then. The study leader, Dr. Rachel Whitmer from the Kaiser Divisions of Research in Oakland, California, say it was a disturbing finding given that up to 50% of the Americans have abdominal obesity. With the world moving towards ever more sedentary activities, more and more people, not only in America but the worldwide, suffer this fate. She said it is well known that being overweight in midlife and beyond increasing risk factor for diseases. However, where one carries the weight, especially in midlife, appears to be an important factor.
That's very true, and autopsies have shown that changes in the brain associated with Alzheimer's disease may start in young or middle adulthood. And another study showed that high abdominal fat in elderly adults was tied to greater brain atrophy. These findings imply that the dangerous levels of abdominal fat, obesity on the brain may start long before the signs of dementia appear. This is a worrying factor for us all. The study also showed that being overweight and having a large stomach increased by 2 to 3 times the dangers. A worrying fact indeed.
It is right. And to continue this, people who are both obese and have a big stomach are 3.6 times more likely to suffer dementia than those of normal weight and stomach size. Participants who were overweight or obese but did not have a large abdomen has an 80% increased risk of dementia. Large midlife waistline has already been shown to raise the risk of diabetes, strokes, coronary heart disease, but this is the first time researcher has demonstrated a link with dementia.
Could account for the way I am. Women taking part in the study were more likely than men to have large waistlines, along with non-white participants, smokers, people with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or diabetes, and those with poor education. Professor Clive Ballard of the Alzheimer's Society stated, "This is an important piece of research, but the results are not that surprising. 1 in 3 people over 65 will die with dementia, a stark fact that should prompt all of us to challenge dementia by keeping healthy. As is stated before, with the world moving towards a more sedentary life, no walking, riding, sitting in front of computers, televisions, not going out gardening or doing other exercises which keeps the blood flow going, more and more people worldwide will suffer from this disease. It's a stark warning to us all, especially us men with our middle age spreads."
That's indeed poor because not exercising will not leading to a good health.
That's
but
very
if
true.
you do more exercising will lead us to a healthy health. Or another way, you could go to a fitness to maybe do a little workout.
I think gentle exercise every day is far more beneficial.
That's right. Agree to that one. And on to the second news. We have a home office U-turn on cannabis. Doctors and patients using the drug for medical purpose are to be given strong warning on the danger of cannabis. Following a U-turn in the home office, cannabis was reclassified after many years, but now it seems that this also will be changed yet again. It is to scrap the current guidance that cannabis is safe unless you suffer from a mental illness. And now young people will be warned that anyone who uses cannabis could be doing so at risk at their mental health.
After new findings state that cannabis could be the trigger to paranoia, depression, schizophrenia, and even suicide. Only last month, members of Parliament were informed that it was not accepted. The previous warnings would make young people think cannabis was safe if they have no existing mental health problems. Well, that was a bit silly to say that, I must say. The U-turn comes in advance of a key report whether cannabis should be reclassified as a Class B drug. The Home Office Advisory Council on the misuse of drugs will tell the government whether experts believe downgrading cannabis was an act which was rather silly at the time. Because those that were caught with the drug since September 2004 were unlikely to be arrested, this factor will now change.
Senior medical expert as giving evidence to the ACMD that the officials' attitudes to the danger of cannabis has been complacent. Professor Lewis, Applebee's National Director for Mental Health, told the ACMD in February that the evidence is pointing towards cannabis as a cause of severe mental illness.
Mr. Croker's revision of the government advice was disclosed to Tory MP Graham Brady, who is the chairman of the All-Party Group on Cannabis and Children. The Frank website currently advises youngsters of increasing evidence of a link between cannabis and mental health problems such as schizophrenia. And in the picture you can see a green lump which is known as skunk. And this is a very potent form of cannabis. It's increasingly popular despite the perils.
If you have a history of mental health problem, depressions, or experience paranoid, then taking this drug is not a good idea, it adds. Mr. Corker has now written to Mr. Brandy, I have looked into the advice being provided by Frank and was to reassures you that a warning about cannabis are not confined to saying there is only a risk if you have predispositions to a mental health problem.
Yes, after reviewing the advice on the website, I've asked the Department of Health to review the current advice given on the Frank website, a website which is for drug information run by the Department of Health, making it clear that anyone that uses cannabis could be doing so at a risk to their mental health. Mr. Brady said, I am delighted and hope this shows a new readiness to listen. There is mounting evidence about the link between cannabis and mental health problems, and we need to make sure that everybody knows about it.
That's right.
That's very important.
That's right. And also, cannabis can be grown in people's home. That would be an interesting one. Warehouses and factories, so it is important we keep up the pressure on the governments in advance of these decisions over the reclassification of cannabis, which is due within the next few weeks.
Absolutely.
Opposition spokesman states yet another example of the chaos and confusion that embodies this government policy on drugs. First, their decisions to reclassify cannabis sends out the message the drugs is okay. Their own guidance does the same. Yet another mixed message. No wonder the number of under 18s receives treatment for cannabis has increased 16% since last year's.
That's very true. I remember when they reclassified it in 2004, we had people going whoopee, walking around smoking cannabis and having it on their possession. They were free. They could do whatever they wanted.
That's right.
But this Frank website has been heavily criticized since it was launched 5 years ago, saying it's regarded some drugs as an essential part of a social scene. Mary Brett of Europe Against Drugs says Frank is misleading, libertarian, and far too soft. The evidence about cannabis has been around for years. If the government is beginning to take notice, that is very, very, very good news. But it's sad the government's knee-jerk reaction. One of the reasons why they reclassified cannabis is because they wanted to try and stop the drug culture. If you're a druggie, you commit crime to suffer your habit. If cannabis is no longer criminal, then maybe less people would commit offenses to get cannabis. But I think it hasn't worked very well at all.
That's right, Paul, and I think it leads to a mental health problem too, I see there.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Now,
and we have the next news, European cough medicines warning. Over-the-counter cough medicines are to be pulled from supermarket shelf. I mean, fear that they are dangerous for toddler under the age of 2. The industrial regulator has ruled that common cough medicines aimed at young children should no longer be sold because of their potential to kill or cause illness. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, aka MHRA, yesterday told health professionals and shopkeepers that their